Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Policy Perspectives Foundation, I am Manika, Chief Coordinator of PPF, extend a very warm welcome to all of you to the inaugural session of our new initiative, the PPF Dialogue Series on Disaster Risk Reduction. This series has been conceived by PPF as a part of our continuing effort to bring together knowledge, experience, and diverse perspectives on issues of national interest. We believe that disaster risk reduction is one of the most urgent policy challenges facing India today. Why now? Last few years have shown us time and again how fragile our systems remain in the face of recurring disasters. From urban floods in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore to cyclones on the eastern and western coast to heat waves that are testing our public health systems, the frequency and intensity of such events have been steadily rising. The tragic landslides in the Himalayas and the devastating floods in the northeast are stark reminders that climate change, rapid urbanization, and ecological stress are converging to create unprecedented risks. It is in this backdrop that PPF felt the need to initiate a sustained dialogue on DRR. We believe that such a conversation, bringing together practitioners, policymakers, and researchers, is vital not only for shaping effective strategies, but also for ensuring that communities remain at the center of disaster response and resilience building. Our first session in this series, appropriately titled India's DRR Strategy, seeks to set the tone by reflecting on the national approach and exploring how India can strengthen the resilience in the face of future challenges. We are privileged to have with us our Chief Guest, Shri Rajendra Singh, member in HOD NDMA. Shri Singh is a distinguished expert in national security and disaster management. He is the first officer from the Coast Guard cadre to become Director General of Indian Coast Guard 2016 to 2019, where he led the organization in critical humanitarian assistance and disaster response operations. With over 4 decades of service, he has commanded several Coast Guard vessels and held key leadership roles in maritime safety, search and rescue, and disaster preparedness. Recipient of the Tatrakshak Medal in 1990 and the President's Tatrakshak Medal later in 2007, Shri Singh's career reflects strategic vision, operational excellence, and a lifelong commitment to safeguarding lives and enhancing national resilience. Welcome you, sir. We are equally privileged to welcome our key speaker for the session, Shri Safi Ahsan Rizvi, advisor at NDMA and executive director at NIDM. Shri Rizvi's current work focuses on policy formulation for disaster risk reduction, with an emphasis on mitigation and reconstruction strategies. His previous assignments at the Ministry of Home Affairs involved dealing with complex national security issues, including geostrategy and counter-terrorism financing, with wide-ranging experience in both disaster management and internal security. His insight will definitely provide us with a sharp policy perspective on the theme. The session this evening will be moderated by Shri K.M. Singh, Vice President Policy Perspectives Foundation, who himself is among the most respected voices in this domain. A former IPS officer, Shri Singh has served as Director General of CISF and a two-term member of NDMA. He was instrumental in establishing India's first disaster management battalions, supervised relief operations in the Nicobar Islands after the 2004 tsunami, and was the first recipient of the Subhash Chandra Bose Aapda Prabandhan Puraskar in 2020 for his contributions in disaster management. May I now request Shri K.M. Singh, sir, to kindly facilitate our chief guest, Shri Rajendra Singh, sir, and our key speaker, Shri Rizvi, sir, with a token of appreciation from Policy Perspectives Foundation. Thank you. With that, I now request Vice President PPF Shri K.M. Singh to deliver the welcome address and initiate the proceedings. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Well, I'm supposed to deliver a welcome address, but we have already partly welcomed everyone, at least the two chief guests and the main speaker. But in the given time of 15 minutes that I have, you have encroached 8 minutes. But I will not, I will take my 15 minutes. Well, first of all, welcome to all of you. But although the formality of welcome address has already been done by Marika, but looking at the presence of some of the illuminaries in the field of disaster management, I'm inclined to welcome at least some of you whom I know personally. Others, I don't know the name, so I'm maybe forgiven for that. First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. P.K. Malhotra. He is our Governing Council member, former Law Secretary, and a legal illuminary. I would like to mention, welcome, Shri Anil Sinha. I always say that Anil Sinha is the Bhisma Pitama of disaster management in this country. He has been associated in the field of disaster management right from the beginning, and he was first ED of the NIDM, first vice chairperson of the Bihar State Disaster Management Authority, and his contribution in the field of disaster management is amazing. Welcome to Anil Sinha ji. I will also like to mention, welcome Dr. R.K. Bhandari. He's an expert in landslide, and that is one area today in our India's strategy in DRR. We'll expect a lot of suggestions from him. He's also the recipient of the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Aapda Prabandhan Puraskar. I would also like to welcome a surprise guest, Anju Gupta. Where is she sitting? Anju Gupta. She's an IPS officer retired from UP cadre with lots of experience and a very eminent author, very eminent author. She also happens to be the spouse of our main speaker today.
The only spouse. The only spouse.
No. I'd like to also welcome Santosh Kumar from the NIDM. He has a long association in the field of NIDM, and now he is the ED of the IISSM. I also welcome Mr. Padmanabhan, former UNDP, and Mr. Balaji Singh. He is the former ED of the CARE Foundation. In addition, I can't mention everyone, but all the representatives from NDMA, NIDM, CDRI, UNICEF, UNDP, Sphere India, and SEEDS, and of all these people. And lastly, if there's anybody from media, I welcome. Welcome, a special welcome to the media people. I hope you will cover this program.
Or maybe not.
Well, that will be a disaster for us if they don't do. Well, I like to speak when a politician says that I want to be very brief in my talk, which means he will talk for 1 hour. I'm not a politician, but I will definitely briefly like to introduce the subject, and I will take about 15 minutes. First of all, the concept of DRR. Globally and in India, until the turn of the century or late 1990s, the term of DRR was not in vogue. It was only disaster management. But the concept of DRR, which is the concept and practice of reducing disaster risks by building resilience through preventive and mitigation measures. Now, this DRR concept came into being in late 1990s. In 1987, UN General Assembly gave a call for global efforts for a culture of risk awareness. And from that followed a declaration by United Nations that the decade of 1990s, 10 years, should be declared at the UN-led International Disaster Decade of Natural Disaster Risk Reduction, INDRR. And there, it is in that context that the name word DRR came into being in late 1990s. In this decade, and following that, two major developments happened globally. And I'm talking of DRR in the international perspective. First was the Yokohama Strategy of 1994. And after that followed the Hugo Framework of Action in 2005 and 15. Both these landmark initiatives, they suggested that instead of solely emergency response, there is a need to switch over to a comprehensive response, namely prevention mitigations and resilient building strategies within a framework of sustainable development. And then lastly, in the international perspective, came the Sendai Framework Disaster Risk Reduction in 2015 for 15 years. And Sendai Framework also endorsed the point which was there in the Hugo Framework, that is, that in any disaster, it's the local people who are worst affected, and so the disaster risk reduction measure for sustainable development is must. So this is in the international perspective. Coming to the Indian scenario, here again, until 2005, we always called it disaster management. That's why the DMA Act, the authority, the National Disaster Management Authority. But then this DMA Act, for the first time, brought about a paradigm shift in thinking from the response-centric. They switched over to a holistic approach covering prevention, mitigation measures for sustainable development. So the concept of DRR in India is the outcome of the Disaster Management Act 2005. And I don't want to go in detail of the various institutional mechanism that DMA Act has at national level, state level, and district level. But then in India, two major development happens at the behest of the Prime Minister of India, which has a big bearing, significant bearing on DRR. One was the 7th Asian Ministerial Conference in Delhi in 2016. Here, in that conference, in 2016, the Prime Minister announced 10 points agenda, which has become a virtual vision document in the field of DRR in India. And significantly, this 10-point agenda of Prime Minister perfectly aligns itself with the DRR measures suggested in the Sendai framework in terms of its targets and priorities both. So that was one major development. And second major development that has come from the Prime Minister of India, that is in 2019 when he announced constitution of Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI. It's a major initiative, and today CDRI has 15 member countries, 9 international organizations, and the CDRI unites national governments, international bodies, business houses to exchange knowledge, promote research, and invest in disaster resilient infrastructure. So these are the two initiatives. With that, I'll briefly mention about what has happened in India in the field of DRR in the last 2 decades. And that is the most relevant point. Well, in the last 20 years, after DMA Act came into being, various institutional mechanisms have come into being, NDMA, NIDM, NDRF, the National Safety Program, School Safety Program, etc., etc. But two major initiatives which have been taken in the last 2 decades, which is worth mentioning in the field of DRR in India. One is Tsunami Early Warning System, and second is National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project. These are the two commendable DRR initiatives in India in the last 2 decades. Tsunami early warning system based in Hyderabad, part of INCOIS, is a state-of-the-art early warning system which has buoys all over in the Arabian Sea, in the Bay of Bengal, in Indian Ocean, and it caters to real-time information, information about tsunami, indicating the location, time, everything, which is 100% correct. And I must say, and they generate early warning not only for India, but 22 Indian Ocean rim countries in Arabian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, and Indian Ocean. And I must say that our tsunami early warning system is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. That's one. That's the commendable work done by in DRR field. And second, what has been done is in the field of cyclone risk mitigation. The National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project, it has done commendable work with the support of the World Bank, and all the coastal states have today very good national cyclone risk mitigation measures. An example is Odisha has always been the worst affected. In 1999, Odisha super cyclone, more than 10,000 people died. But after the NCRMP came into being, almost a similar cyclone in 2013 by name Phylin, where the entire world was expecting that again the casualty will be 10 to 15,000 because the population has doubled in that area, and the casualty was only 21. Something incredible. In fact, we don't realize many international organizations came to for research how India has achieved this. In fact, I would like to mention that in 2015, UN OCHA organized a conference in United Nations headquarters where this was a subject, how India has done this. And I had the privilege of going to United Nations on 3rd of December 2015 and present a paper, how India has done this. It's such a commendable thing. And it is not that only 2013. In 2021 also there was cyclone Yas, similarly only 5 casualties. And not only in eastern sector, but in the west coast also. In 2023, cyclone Biparjoy came. It was again devastating, 190 kilometers per hour, and the casualty was only 5. So this is in the cyclone risk mitigation, cyclone DRR, India has done commendably well. Now, how India has done? Because they have made a lot of cyclone shelters, disaster resilient infrastructure, good early warning system, community awareness. But these two areas where cyclone and tsunami, India has done commendable DRR work, should not make us complacent, because India is still a long way to cover. There are many major disasters where nothing has been done, and this needs to be taken care of. And I would like to mention this gap because that should be our focus area of discussion today. And those areas are: number one, earthquake. India is least prepared. I am sure our two members from NDMA, they will throw light on what is the stage of National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project. National Earthquake Risk Mitigation Project. Other is landslide. Again, landslide, you must have been watching this year. Enormous damage to life and property every year. And there is no comprehensive national risk mitigation project for landslide. And lastly, floods. And particularly urban flood. Urban flood has been increased year after year, and country huge property loss and all that. There should be a proper DRR initiative, a strategy for these things. So this earthquake, landslide, and urban flood, according to me, is most important. With that, I will stop here. Of course, we have landslide expert in Dr. R.K. Bhandari. He will definitely give us some suggestion. And of course, and today, in the end, I would like to mention, this is not a workshop, this is not a seminar, this is a dialogue. Every one of you is quite knowledgeable in the field of disaster management. So what you expect is, at the end of the presentation, some worthwhile suggestion coming from all of you for strategies. With this, I will now request our chief guest, Shri Rajendra Singh, to deliver his talk. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to this distinguished gathering of senior officers, ladies and gentlemen. I thank the Policy Perspective Foundations for inviting me and for initiating this dialogue on and disaster risk resilience, DRR strategy. Although that Honorable former member K.M. Singh sir has already said most of the things, but I will touch upon some parts and fill the blanks. Although he said he is the Anil ji is a Bhis Pitama, Bhandari ji is there. The three Bhis Pitama. So I asked them why Abhimanyu put into the Chakravyuh. So in front of them, I am really in a Abhimanyu mode. I know how to enter it, but I don't know how to get out from this Chakravyuh. In a world of increasing uncertainties, you have seen urban flood, Tharali, Darali, and Jammu Kashmir. These type of dialogues are just act as a lighthouse. They do not stop a storm, but they guide the ship to the safe harbor. That's why this dialogue is there. This the initiating of this dialogue series on DRR strategy is a welcome step. And this is not only a discussion, it is a roadmap for future India, that is Viksit Bharat for 2047, which is prosperous, inclusive, and resilient. Before I come to this DRR strategy, let me talk about just 30 seconds. I'll mention what is the hazard profile of India. Everybody is aware the 58% land mass is under earthquake, 12% is flood. It is almost 40 million hectare land mass. Out of 11,098 kilometer coastline, the 7,560 kilometer which is touching our coast is 800 kilometer coastline is prone to tsunami and cyclone, and 12.8% of land mass is, that is 15 state, is to landslide. 144 districts out of 19 states are prone to forest fire. Gulf, glacial lake outburst, and upper Himalayan region, if you talk, 28,000 small and big lakes, that is less than 2.5 hectares. But today CWC and NRSC and NDMA, we are monitoring around 3,000 glacial lake. There's 2,500 glacial lake and 300 to 400 water bodies. It is the natural water. The water is not coming from glaciers. So total 3,000 glacial lake the CWC is monitoring. And out of this 3,000, NDMA, my very dear friend and Professor Rizvi Sahab, has initiated a program, Gulf Mitigations Program for 150, and he is monitoring and regular health of these 200 glacial lake, which is vulnerable to our mankind, to their livelihood and their infrastructure. On top of that, we got 7 nuclear power plants, 22 reactors, and 10 reactors are in pipeline, sir. And almost 1900 major accident hazards units are there, the chemical factories, that we have to look after those units also. And we got a heat wave, we got a lightning, and on top of that, we got a cascading events also, which is if you see the Joshimath or Dharali or Sikkim, it started with glove, it started with landslide, then become a flood, and all the three things is cascading events. Now, once we talk about the disaster management in India, as K.M. Singh sir has said, must not forget about what happened in 93. Latur, 6.3 magnitude earthquake, loss of life was 9,478. 30,000 people were injured, and almost 1 million people was displaced from that area. Then comes to Paradip incident in 99, the 2020 kilometer wind speed, more than 10,000 people lost and thousands of people have displaced. The 2001 Bhuj earthquake, 7.7 magnitude earthquake, where 13,800 people lost their lives and livelihood. And then finally the 2004 tsunami, where the 10,000 people lost their lives and 6,000 were missing. And here is that NDMA comes in force, the 2005 NDMA, and I called it pre-K.M. Singh era and post-K.M. Singh era. This is K.M. Singh sir is here. It is a pre and post-K.M. Singh era. Why I said? Because earlier, pre-2005, we were talking about relief only. एक किनारे पे बैठ जाओ और देखते रहो कि साइक्लोन आएगा जाएगा और तब बोतल कंबल राशन लेके पहुंच जाओ. That is the area, that is the era of 2005. और किसी शायर ने क्या, निज़ा फाजली साहब ने बहुत अच्छा कहा है कि आते हैं आने दो कश्ती का खुदा खुद हाफिज. आते हैं आने दो कश्ती का खुदा खुद हाफिज, मुमकिन है उठती लहरों में साहिल आ जाए. तो हम लोग बैठ के देखते थे कि बहती हुई बोट जो है साहिल मतलब किनारे पे आ जाए. That was 2000, pre-2005. When the 2005 NDMA emerged, DM Act, the DM Act, I will not talk about many things, the 4 things, very important things has emerged. It is 2000, that Act, Section 11 talks about every country, the country must have their national disaster management plan ready. And Section 23 talks about every state must prepare their disaster management plan. And Section 31 talk about every district must prepare their district disaster management plan. And the most important part is Section 37 talks about all the departments and ministries in Government of India. That is 85 departments and ministries in Government of India, they should prepare their disaster management plan. And today, I can say we have prepared our disaster management plan. All 36 states, their state disaster management plan is ready. Out of 778 districts, 732 districts have prepared their disaster management plan. And out of 85 ministries and departments, 23 ministries, the major ministries, have prepared and submitted, and we have approved their disaster management plan. So this is what is the biggest advantage of DM Act. And then in 2006, the major achievement after NDMA was established is that we have created a force called National Disaster Response Force, NDRF. And full credit goes to Shri K.M. Singh Saab, how he has run around from one ministry to another ministry, to one force to another force, and the 8th battalion was created in 2006. And that's why I called him the Bhis Pitama of NDMA, the two-term. And why I said pre and post, when NDRF came in power and they have started functioning, that awareness, the mock drill, and the taking the policy and guidelines to community level was started by them, by NDRF. एंड एक नई ऊर्जा लोगों में आ गई एंड उसमें राहत इंदौरी साहब ने एक शेर कहा है सर, तूफानों से आंख लड़ाओ, सैलाबों पर वार करो, मल्लाहों का चक्कर छोड़ो, तैर के दरिया पार करो. दिस इज व्हाट एनडीआरएफ हैज टॉट ईच एंड एवरी इंडिविजुअल कि भैया अब छोड़ दो चक्कर, अब रिलीफ सेंट्रिक मत रहो, अब नाउ यू हैव टू गो फॉर ए रिस्पॉन्स सेंट्रिक. दिस इज हाउ एनडीआरएफ हैज started working on ground. And after that, it is now we are talking about in 2025, when we talk about, it is about in a policy came in 2009, and policy is talked about concern of all the section of society and their involvement at a community level. DMA doesn't talk about society and NGOs. In 2009, when our policy came, they gave the free hand to these people how to involve them, how to bring them on board to take our agendas. And I thank Professor Bhandari ji and the Anil ji. They were the people, they have prepared initial guidelines. They all are the Bhis Pitama of disaster management in India. Big salute to them. These people have prepared our guidelines on earthquake, landslide, initial guideline. They played the major role on preparing on these guidelines. Now it comes, religions part I will come now. It is earlier time NDMA was only prepared for to make policy, make plan and make guidelines. But hand holding, we felt in 2011, 9, 12, 14, 15, we felt that hand holding is required at ground level. That is where the executive role came to NDMA. This is very, very important. Earlier, we were limited only to make guideline, policy and plans. But now, executive, when hand holding, when we saw that states are not coming up, states are not coming forward, they are totally at loss what to do. That's the time hand holding was required and we came in executive positions. That I will talk later on how the budget was distributed. But today, it is a vision of our vision is very clear, zero mortality by disasters by 2047. And our social contract with the citizen is, this is not an aspiration, it is a promise to every citizen of this country, that nation where hazard no longer dictate our destiny. It is not aspiration, it is a promise to every citizen of India that no hazard will dictate our destiny. That is the zero mortality we are talking about 2047. But how to move about? How to move to achieve that target? Because I come from a marine background, I talk about compass and maps. Because when we are out at sea, we fix our ships with the magnetic compass, and there is a chart on the table navigating officer's table and he always take the bearing from the compass and he fix the ship. So we got a very good navigating officer, Professor Rizvi, who is, we are in the helm of affairs, but he is the person who is directing us to how to go into safe waters. When I talk about compass, compass gives us direction. And direction is risk knowledge, vulnerability, exposure, and what we call HRVA, hazard risk vulnerability assessment. That is the direction is we are getting. And this direction we will get to know it is a risk mapping. Either it requires prevention, it requires mitigation, or it requires resilient recovery. And third, the second thing comes about map. In a disaster field, how to get the maps? There's no map. But no, gentlemen, there is a map. This National Disaster Management Plan, when we open it, when we put Prime Minister 10-point agenda, open it, and when we open the Sendai framework 2015-2030 in front of us, and we put compass on that, our compass on that, it gives us the actual thing, how to go about it. Because that three books, that NDMA, Prime Minister 10-point agenda, and Sendai framework is a Gita, Quran, Bible, or Guru Granth Sahib for disaster management people, and we are abide by that things. And we go by each and every line of that. And if our compass is giving us right direction, we can put it in a right map, and we are right there. So this is what I'm going to talk about this. But after putting a compass and map, what is the DRR strategy? I will talk about 6 pillars, how to fix the disaster management, how to do the DRR strategy in India. Number 1 is risk-informed development. It is to be, first, the state must prepare themselves. District, you have seen in Dharali, one small township, and no way to reach there. We are not able to send the IMCT team. We are not able to send the PDNA team because the disaster is so vast. So it is a 3 stage, the national level, state level, 3 tier, and the district level. Until unless we don't strengthen them, don't build their capacity, it is difficult to reach to that target. So first is you have to risk-informed development, risk in all plans, risk mapping. Whatever you are taking in your region, it must be mapped properly. It is risk to be, and all the plan project. If you are making a powerhouse in a earthquake area zone 5 in Uttarakhand, you are exposing your people. You are exposing your community. You have to take care. If you are making a big jetty and building a big harbor in a coastal area, you have to see, you have to map that area properly, risk mapping of that harbor, what type of harbor you require, what type of pillars you want to build, and what is the frequency of tsunami and cyclone in that area. You have to keep that thing in mind. My second strategy is early warning system. That is the CAP platform, Common Alert Protocol, we have already developed. 6 alert generating agencies. It is a IMD, it is CWC, it is INCOIS, it is Forest Survey of India. All the 6 agencies are generating, and this they put it on, they upload on CAP platform, and CAP from there, it goes to through such an app, it moves to each and every individual in that area. It goes to SDMA, and from SDMA it goes to DDMA. And that's why when we talk about cyclone, Yas, cyclone Biparjoy, another cyclone in Andhra and East Coast and West Coast, we see Biparjoy we have achieved nil mortality. Nil. Not even the any animal was killed, we have lost in that. That is the because 80 million messages was released through Sachet, through CAP, and in that area, in Gujarat area. And if you talk about Odisha cyclone, in one of the cyclone, in 2 days, Odisha has evacuated around 1 million plus people. It is the entire population of Mauritius. Mauritius population is around 12 lakh, and 12 lakh people in 2 days, we have shifted them into a safe shelter. This is what is the preparation. This is early warning system we are talking about. Third strategy, I'll talk about resilient infrastructure. One, which we are going to build in future. In India, every year we build around 2.5% new buildings, new constructions. In 2.5, if we are making those buildings disaster resilient, there's in another 22 years, that is a Viksit Bharat, I think 45 or 50%, more than 50%, our entire India's infrastructure will be the disaster resilient. And we all move inside the gate of the Viksit Bharat, which I can see and I can dream. All will move together inside the gate, and here say we have arrived here in Viksit Bharat. That is what is the aim. But resilient infrastructure, when I'm talking about, is the present hospital, schools, lifeline, powerhouses. These need to be prepared for disasters. If they are not ready enough, then it is a sorry figure we have to cut. So we have to make their things happen. And now fourth point is community preparedness. Community preparedness is a very, very important point. Community, earlier, there were no community volunteers. They were not aware about how to go about it. Now, NDMA, with the help of ministries, we have identified 350 districts, and 4 disasters we have taken: earthquake, landslide, flood, and cyclone. In this 350 districts, we have made 1 lakh volunteers, 1 lakh. We are giving them 12 days training, 2 days OJT. We are giving them a kit, and we are insuring them for 5 years for 5 lakhs rupees. And for any injury or for any loss of life. And in that particular district, we are giving 22 lakhs worth of equipment. If any disaster happen in that area, these boys and girls can use this equipment and they can save the life of common man. So this is Aapda Mitra scheme. We have launched in 2021. We have finished in 2023, and it is a very, very successful scheme which NDMA has launched. And on seeing the success of these Aapda Mitra in various regions, various states, what we have done is we have started a new Yuva Aapda Mitra scheme where NCC, NSS, NYKS, and Bharat Scout and Guide, 250,000 school and college children, we are preparing them as a Aapda Mitra and Aapda Sakhi. And this training has already started, and this will finish by 2026, and we will have good 350,000 community volunteers available in these 350 districts which are more vulnerable. And my fifth point is tech and innovation. We have to AI, IoT, machine learning, we have to see. We have to take clue from NRSC, how they are doing it. If you don't have the worldview of all your country, you are going to face a problem. किसी शायर ने बहुत अच्छा कहा है कि अफसोस है अफसोस कि शाहीन ना बना तू, शाहीन मतलब फैल्कन, बाज। अफसोस है अफसोस कि शाहीन ना बना तू, देखे ना तेरी आंखों ने फितरत के ये इसरत। अगर तुमने नेचर का ये इशारे नहीं समझे हैं तो देखे ना तेरी आंखों ने इसरत, फितरत के ये इसरत। तकदीर के काजे का ये फतवा है अजल से, अजल मतलब एटर्निटी, फतवा मतलब ऑर्डर। तकदीर के काजे का ये फतवा है अजल से, है जुर्म जायफे की सजा मुर्गे मफाजत। जुर्म जायफी, इफ यू आर नॉट प्रिपेयर वेल, इट इज अ वीकनेस, उसकी सजा फिर मौत है। तो दिस इज द राइट टाइम, वी हैव टू इन्वॉल्व आवर टेक्नोलॉजी, AI, machine learning, whatever things, NRAC, whichever industries are involved with this, with the technology, we have to incorporate this technology in our system, in our plan, whatever plan we are making it, and see how best we can make a new plans. And final part of 6 is that strategic pillars is financial resilience. It is a very important part. क्योंकि भूखे भजन होय ना गोपाला, अगर पेट में कुछ नहीं है तो भजन नहीं होते हैं। तो पैसा आना चाहिए, एंड मनी के लिए 6M always remember. These all risk, early warning, resilient infrastructure, technology is required money. It's required 5M. What is the 5M? That is the man, machinery, material, that is minutes. Minutes means time, minutes, and it is money, and it is a manager. You miss one, the 5 will not be able to do anything. If you miss money, all 5 are useless. If you miss manager, these 5 will not be, they will go this direction and that direction. You require a managers also. If you don't have material, without material, what you will do? If you don't have machinery, it will not be able to take care of Silkara tunnel. So machinery is also important role. And if you don't have minutes, the time, it will be difficult for you people to act on time. It is, that's why I say minute is very, very, every minute in disaster, it counts. That's why I said this is 5 things. And 15th Finance Commission has given us a window. In 13th Finance Commission, sir, it was 33,000 crores. In 14th Finance Commission, it became 64,000 crores. And now when it comes to 15th Finance Commission, it becomes around 2,28,000 crores. Massive jump. And when I say hand-holding, the 68,000 crore rupees was kept with the center, and 1,20,000 crore rupees was disbursed with the state. It was every year state get in that money. And this funding window is talk about 4 major components. It is relief and response, that is 40%. That recovery and reconstruction is 30%. Mitigation goes for 20%. And capacity building goes for 10%. And this is how the state and disaster management we are taking care. Sir has just mentioned about NCRMP project of 4,500 crore rupees. It is in disaster management we have become the world leader. World leader means cyclone, and we are on the way to become a world leader very shortly. How? Because the funding window is there, mitigation is there. Disaster, when cyclone risk mitigation, we have built around 800 cyclone shelters, early warning system, 1,300 kilometer underground cabling. We built around 1,400 kilometer roads to take out the people from there and take them to these shelters. That's why I said when in Yas and others cyclone, we have evacuated people, more than 12 lakhs people in 2 days. It is the entire population of Mauritius that we were able to do it because we prepared cyclone shelters. Now we have under mitigation under the funding window, we have Government of India just approved 1,000 crore rupees of landslide mitigation scheme. It is landslide mitigation scheme in 15 states. The work has already started. So maybe another 1 year time, if everybody cooperate, everybody work with dedication, money is available, a scheme is already approved. In coming years, 1 or 2 times, we don't have to face this type of landslide which we are facing today. We have just cleared 819 crore rupees forest fire scheme, mitigation scheme. We have just approved, and is 19 states, 144 districts. I cannot guarantee fire, but yes, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, there will not be a major fire which is going beyond 13 and 14 days. That will be a fire, there will be a fire, but that will be a small fire or medium fire. Within 3 to 5 days, we will be able to douse that because we have already approved a scheme. Saraj mentioned about urban flood, 3,500 crore rupees urban flood for 7 cities. Work is done. First stage payment has already been done. Cities are asking for second stage payment, which will be done. And Professor Rizvi Saab has taken another scheme, taking an inspiration from the first scheme, urban flood. He has especially taken 11 another cities for 2,200 crore for a scheme, and that also been approved by Government of India. The glove is already in the pipeline. Drought, 68% India's aerial cultivated land is under drought, and that scheme is already been approved. Money is already been almost, it will be disbursed very shortly. Now earthquake, disaster risk mitigation program. It is phase 1 for almost 1,600 crore rupees has been submitted to Government of India. It will be approved very shortly. And phase 2 is in the pipeline. Maybe it will take another 1 or 2 months time for more than 6,000 crore rupees. I don't know exactly how much amount, but it will be approved very, very shortly. So we'll be ready by maybe another 1 year's time if this work starts. So maybe in coming days or coming years, we will be able to mitigate those schemes, those disasters also. Now it comes to global. CDRI, Saraj already talked, BRICS, IORA, BIMSTEC, we are taking a lead. And G20, in the G20 group, under the chairmanship of India, when India was the chairmanship in 2023, this is the first time in G20 the disaster risk DRR chapter was included in this. Earlier, during the China time, other time, nobody has talked about it, but during India's presidency, Honorable PM has introduced the disaster chapter, and it was all approved, and 4 parts, four sections was approved: early warning, resilient infrastructure, and all, and it has been approved. And it was again taken forward by Brazil, and now South Africa has agreed that yes, we will also carry forward this disaster. This is the first time when we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future, and that is for related to disaster risk resilience only. Now, not taking too much of time. Time, what is it? 14 minutes? Okay. Now, finally, I'll come to my 3 points. My 3 points is, whatever we are doing, first point is people-centric approach. लोगों के हित में क्या है? To help them out, not to harm them. Protect them, not to expose them. Whatever scheme, whatever plan, whatever project we are launching in India, in our country, the approach should be people-centric approach. If it is not good for my people, it should be dropped then and there only. संस्कृत में कहा गया है, यद्यपि सिद्ध्यम लोकानाम विरुद्धम न आदरणीय न करने में. अगर कानून में न्याय संगत है पर वो लोगों के लिए भी अगर ठीक नहीं है तो उस स्कीम को रोक देना चाहिए. अगर कानून तभी हम कहते हैं कि वहां तक रोड पहुंचनी चाहिए, बट अगर वो रोड से मेरे पहाड़ों को, मेरे दूसरे लोगों को डिस्टर्बेंस हो रहा है, मेरे लोग, मेरी कम्युनिटी को डिस्टर्बेंस, वी शुड स्टॉप दैट. The people-centric approach is the first centric approach. We should keep it in mind. My second point is Team India approach. समग्र तैयारी, सबकी तैयारी, inclusiveness, सबका साथ, सबका विकास और सबका विश्वास. Army, Navy, Air Force, paramilitary forces, everybody and DRR, we have to form like a team, Team India. It is not Team NDRF, Team NDMA, no. It is not state versus India, center. It is all NDMA, SDMA, DDMA, we are in one. We are inclusiveness, the Team India approach. That's why we have started quarter meeting, committee meeting. We are having a seminar and symposium with Army, Navy, Air Force, and all other forces. We are having this symposium. Why? Because we want to understand them and we want them to know how to react, how to respond. And we have seen the Team India effort when Silkara Tunnel was there, how NDMA has bought 22 agencies, one platform, and how successfully we have saved the life. So this is what the Team India approach. So team, we have to build a Team India. And my third point is community-centric approach. तैयारियों पे जो, you have to interact, community interaction, early warning, local volunteers, because local volunteers, they are the first responder. Abda Mitra is there, but Abda Mitra job is to train other people, train the communities, the most vulnerable group, disabled people, old people, ladies, children, the community approach. It is like democracy mein Abraham Lincoln say, by the people, of the people, and for the people. It is by the communities only. Until unless the people will not, community will not participate. In a Joshimath, when I went there, NDRF took almost 16 hours to reach there. NDRF will not be able to reach wherever any disaster is there. They will not be able to reach. Although they got 16 battalions, 18 battalions, 1800 manpower. But you have to, in that DM Act 2024, which we have amended, it is made mandatory that every state must prepare their SDRF, so that SDRF will be there to reach at the earliest. And when we talk about Abda Mitra job, they are the first responder, but in the village, the community become the first responder. So community-centric approach is required. And Acharya Chanakya always used to say, Nekam Chakram Paribharmayati. ये आपदा का रथ है, इसको एक पहिए पे नहीं चलता है. One side is the government agencies. Center is working, states are working, whole of nation approach is there, and whole of community. The second paya is the community. Community has to get up. They have to prepare for this type of disasters, and they have to put. And the axle, the rod which connect them, it is the policy, the plan, the system. System has the axis is the system. So government, policies, and community, they have to come. Then only we can move, and then only we can say these Bhishpitama, those are here. Maybe tomorrow I'll also, after 75, they will call me here and they'll say he was also a Bhis Pitama. But today I'm just Abhimanyu. I want to be Abhimanyu only. And the last said, I think I have said about first year when people used to see from the far away the boat will come. Second is we have trained people. And third is बसम बरेलवी साहब का एक शेर है कि आते हैं आने दो ये तूफान क्या ले जाएंगे, आते हैं आने दो ये तूफान क्या ले जाएंगे, अरे मैं तो तब डरता अगर मेरा हौसला ले जाते। तो ये जो हौसला है ये आपको गाइडलाइन, ये आपको प्रिपेयर्डनेस, ये आपको मिटिगेशन, ये आपकी अवेयरनेस, ये सब आपको तब देंगे। अगर आपने ये सब कर लिया तो you don't have to worry at all. Everything is going to be fine. You have to prepare. You are going to be your first responder. You are going to become first responder for your family, for your village, for your taluka, for your district. And if you got that idea to do it. और किसी शायर ने बहुत अच्छा कहा है कि हाथों की जद में है तो क्या गम है, हाथों की जद में है तो क्या गम है, हौसलों की धूप हर साया बना देती है। तो अगर हौसला तुम्हारे पास है, the sunshine of courage will, every shadow will turn into a shelter. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for patient hearing. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajendra Singh ji. A brilliant exposition. You gave a very comprehensive view or overview of what NDMA is doing at the moment and what is there in the pipeline. And it's very encouraging to hear that a lot of things are in the pipeline. And I think you projected a very optimistic vision of where we are heading to. And if that vision is intertwined with the DRR initiatives also, I think by 2047, we may be much better prepared to deal with any disaster much before that. Thank you very much for that. Now may I request Safi Rizvi for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the invitation to Mr. K.M. Singh, to PPF, to Mr. Haldar. And thank you to Mr. Rajendra Singh for a brilliant exposition. I have always insisted he should never use paper. He's a natural, born speaker. And he can only speak in Sher-o-Shari for hours. I know that. I listen to him every day. So Mr. Rajendra Singh is a man of the sea. And we have two other members in NDMA. One is a man of land, which is our General Hasnain, who's a member. And the third person is our professor of everything, Dr. Krishna Vatsa. He tells us all about what each pixel of D stands for in disaster. I take to him as a Guruji, and there's a bit of competition between Rajendra Singh Sahab and Vatsa Sahab, in which one of them is my Guruji. So I have a difficult time trying to explain what I learned from one and what I learned from the other. So it is a very enjoyable 2 years I've had since my earlier avatar. There are some very nice friends here from the media world, Jayashri, who's not known me from my earlier avatar, and Vijeta and Rahul, who've known me very much in my earlier avatar. And then even more dominating is the presence of two former directors of Intelligence Bureau. One is Mr. Rajiv Jain, the younger one, who still looks like he's serving in the Intelligence Bureau. And then the slightly senior one, Mr. P.C. Haldar, who was my trainer in the IB. And whatever mistakes I make, you can blame them on him. So to quickly go through this, what I've tried to design is a 12-slide presentation, which doesn't have, I'm sorry that the emblem has shifted down. Shishir, could you do something to it? And no, I mean, just go back to the regular thing, edit it, and take the emblem back up or down. So just 12 slides, and it's basically images. इसको escape करिए और अब इसको अब उसको edit कर दो, ऊपर कर दो, बस ठीक है. So this form is also very important. So one has learned a lot in 2 years, and disaster management turned out to be a really exceptional type of a different field of work. There is great similarity between national security and disaster management. In disaster management, they teach you that there are three things that you need to do. One is you have to be prepared, two, you have to mitigate the risks, and three, you have to know how to respond. So this is exactly what we used to do in cases of terrorism or crime in disaster, in national security, that you have to be prepared. You have to mitigate the risk by doing whatever you have to do across various LACs and LOCs. And then you also have to be ready to respond. So it's exactly the same line of work. This part of the world is essentially dealing with man-made hazards, and that side of the world is largely dealing with, the other way around. This part is dealing with natural hazards, and the other side is dealing with man-made hazards. So it's the policy side, which is what NDMA handles, is what it looks like. And I have another hat of NIDM as ED of NIDM. I've got some of my professors over here who make my task even more difficult. And then there are professors of those professors who are very senior and now retired, which makes my life even more difficult. So I am fairly nervous about these 12 slides, and I am fairly sure I'll make mistakes, but let's hope I don't. Shishir, can we start? So this is first two slides is just to show you what the heat situation is, and then the next two will be on what the precipitation, the rain season problem is. One sec, please go back. So if you see, heat and rain are the two main things that cause climate change. And heat and rain, the study of which is a very, very important thing for disaster management. The chart on the left is taken as of this morning, and it is of the heating of the land. So it's not that it's an absolute chart. So these are the temperatures of an average of 30-32 degrees centigrade in the middle of the earth. This is what the middle of the earth looks like on a daily basis. And on the right is the temperature of the seas. So the seas are also seeing temperatures which are fairly high at about just under 30 degrees centigrade. That is the big story that is happening. Everybody asks questions about why do you have sudden downpours? Why is it raining in Sarojini Nagar and not in India International Center? So the primary reason is that the increase in thermal expansion within the seas, not just rise in sea level, but also thermal expansion, it is causing, the heating is causing more evaporation. That more evaporation is leading to more moisture going up in the air and obviously forming more clouds, stronger cyclones, and creating more trouble, especially on the cloud situation. So when the clouds come into land, they are heavier, they have formed faster, hence they are over smaller surface area, they are taller, hence they crash down on wherever they are in a much more forceful fashion. So that is the nature of what heat is doing, how it's changing. Next. So this is a comparative chart. The earlier two were basically absolute charts. This is a comparative one since 1940. So 1940 to 2025 is 85 years, and the dark red line is 2025 taken this morning, and the orange line is 2024, and there's a mild gray line behind 24, that is 2023. So 2023 June to 2024 June, that 13 months were the hottest months on earth. Now let that sink in. This 1.5 degrees that all the climate change people talk about is this. It's right here. You can see it right here. And this is the entire earth, the surface temperature. Next, you will see the sea surface temperature. So only from 60 degrees north to 60 degrees south. The same story, 2025, and then 2024 is the orange one, and then 2023 is the gray one, which is the hottest year on earth. So the same thing in the sea and the same thing on land, and this is what is causing all the big changes, the extreme weather events that are happening. So this is the first slide on heat. Now the next slide, please click that. This is a very nice way of showing how things should be presented. It's a very massive art of visualization. You see how the temperatures have been rising and how obviously it is showing to us what is happening. So visualization is a key that a lot of the people in disaster management, and I'm fairly sure in national security also, should be taking more recourse to. Now look at what they do. Look at this. It's a three-dimensional effect. And just see how brilliantly they are telling you where you were in 1950. 50 and where you are now, and see that the heating has expanded and accelerated much after 1980. So these are things which climate scientists study, but as disaster managers, we should be aware and never forget that the top rim is increasing. It's not stopping. Now we go to the next slide on heat. What is the impact on, there are 6 impacts of heat. We only talk about what happens to humans and how they're feeling hot and how they are sweating, but there is an entire ministry to look after our health. But there is a water ministry also. Evaporation of water causing loss of water is a big problem. Central Water Commission is there for it. Animals, 3x the population of humans. The Department of Animal Husbandry looks at that very closely. Infrastructure is a very nice thing which I'd like to take a second on. Infrastructure, if you look at the Ministry of Power, they have 424 gigawatts of power being generated. The transmission lines, the distribution lines, standing up in heat of 48 degrees centigrade. And the fun fact that I got to know, the fun is obviously in quotes and underlined, is that 48 degrees centigrade is ambient temperature. All the professors here think it's a very obvious thing, but all of us outside of the disaster management community do not know that if it is 48 degrees in centigrade on a hot summer day, it is ambient temperature, which means in the shade. The real temperature, if you stand in the sun for 10 minutes, you're getting 60 degrees of radiant heat in your head. Hence, why we dispensed with the Britisher's hat is a mystery to everybody. Wearing headgear in the summers in India for some reason has gone out of fashion, but in the summer months, headgear is a super important thing. Then you go to the second part of infrastructure. First part we deal with very well. You may have heard that garmi bahut hai, bijli kat gayi, but it's a very rare thing now. Even in rural areas, in the summer months, the bijli doesn't break. How do your power lines and distribution lines cope with that? Because that is resilient infrastructure. So it is not to say that India has not built resilience. India has built fantastic resilience. The animals are protected in fairly A-class ways on heat, and humans as well. But we keep trying and we keep moving on. जैसे RS sir ने कहा, हौसला बुलंद है हम लोग का. We keep trying to doing more and better. Railways. This twisting of the rail is a photograph which I remember I used to see when I was in school and college, but I don't see these photographs coming in the newspapers now. Why does this happen? Because the railways, which has 1,20,000 kilometers of rail line, just before every summer, they actually unscrew their railway lines. There must be some technical term for that. They pick it up, put it on the side, let it expand. So they allow it to de-stress by making it expand and then put it back again. Hence, there is no twisting. So these are all ways and means. I was attending a CDRI workshop international in which there was a European participants. They had a group and they were saying, we've done this, we've done that. So they were saying, we are having a tough time. We are reaching 30 degrees Celsius and we don't know how to deal with heat and everything. And our metro lines, we have to worry. And in Amsterdam at 30 degrees, the metro line shuts down. So I had to intervene. And I said, ma'am, we have our metro lines in Delhi working at 20 degrees Celsius in the air-conditioned environment of underground, and it instantly comes out at 48 degrees Celsius in Delhi, and nothing happens to its signaling, nothing happens to its railway stock, nothing happens to the rail line, and everything continues to function. So it shut them up for some time, and I also had the temerity to offer that India is willing to send a team to help you to deal with resilient infrastructure in your railway ministry. I don't think they reached back to us again. Ministry of Agriculture, they've done fantastic work, resilient seeds and all that. So see the impact of heat and lack of heat on maize and broccoli. I don't like broccoli, so I don't mind. But maize, if you see, 25 degrees is the main temperature you need when you want the right yield. But if it is another 5 degrees or 10 degrees more Celsius, then the yield is gone. And if it's 10 degrees less, which means a very cool summer, then also the yield is gone. So these crops are more sensitive to heat than humans are. And the Forest Ministry of Environment, which RS sir mentioned, forest fire and all, that's a long subject of study. So these two slides on heat, now we come to the water part, the rain part. Now, if you look at IMD's data, you have this, you can do the next one, please. And one more click, please. Now, see this chart. So, this is data from the IMD of temperature, of mean rainfall for the monsoon season for every year. And from 1900, 125 years of 120 years of data. In this, you can get to see that if you look at the polynomial decadal, it is negative and slowly moves up somewhere in the 1940s up to 5.9% more than average, and then starts moving down again. And now we're on the way up again. So apart from expecting more heat in this current decade and maybe the next, you can expect more rain also. So these are the two big things that we are looking at in the next 5 years for the disaster management community. And one very important fact here is that we have a consistent fight with IMD, because IMD scientists' formal stand is that there is no change in this 868 mm of rainfall every year in the monsoon. If you do the 120-year average, it is a magical 868 mm. So that average seems to have become the long-term average, and that is actually not changing. But the decadal thing is changing, so we've got them to agree to look at the decadal variations. If you look at the 5-yearly variations, it is a slightly different story. So we are also managing to push in and try to explain, these are the things possibly we could make a difference with. Now in the next slide, you see that the rising variability. Now here I am taking recourse to one of the best non-profits I have found working in this sphere. And these are young boys and girls. Two of them are sitting right here in the corner, feeling very shy right now. They have basically created two brilliant reports, which all of you must look at. CEW is their organization. And they've taken IMD data, which is openly available. They have taken Tehsil level IMD data. And that IMD data they have analyzed simply over 40 years. And the bright thing that they did was they compared the last 10 to the previous 30, which means the last decade compared with 3 decades prior, that what is the change in the monsoonal averages. Very simple maths, but done with a lot of clarity of thought. And then the smartest thing that they did was that they brought in visualization of an A-class variety. Just 4 maps I'm showing you of how visualization changes everything. Now the one on the right is telling us that the increase in frequency of very hot days in the last decade compared to 3 decades prior. So look what is getting really hot. It is Maharashtra, Karnataka primarily. And some parts of Gujarat and Rajasthan are getting really hot. But the even worrisome hot part is in Ladakh, in Kashmir, in Jammu, and in Arunachal Pradesh, of all places. So let us not forget that apart from the west coast getting hotter days, Ladakh, J&K and Himachal and Arunachal Pradesh, which are our mountains, our Himalayas, they are also experiencing in the last decade higher hot days. That is a danger sign which we need to worry about, because it leads to more forest fires. And when it leads to more forest fires, you lose 50 years of biodiversity. The next, wait. Shishir is in a rush. Shishir is my finance expert, so he always wants to do things really fast, and he wants the balance sheet to balance. कि 30 minutes है, तो इनका 30 minutes में खत्म हो जाना चाहिए. So increase in frequency of very warm nights. Now there is a warm night concept also, which I had never heard about. So warm nights are also measured by the meteorological scientists, and that is also increasing in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Karnataka, J&K, Ladakh, the same states, and the northern part of Himachal and Uttarakhand, which is where all your hills are, and Arunachal Pradesh and also Sikkim. Now what RS sir was mentioning, all our glacial lakes lie here. They lie in Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Himachal, J&K and Ladakh. 7,500 glacial lakes. In the whole Himalayas, there are 28,000, 1/4 are in India, and these are the 6 states where it's warm nights and warmer days. Next, please. Now you come to the rain, the monsoon. So there is this term called JJAS, June, July, August, September. It's as simple as that. So these Met scientists, they try to confuse you, but I've managed to figure out what they're trying to do to you. So in the JJAS, as they call it, now you had heat in Gujarat and on the west coast and Gujarat and Rajasthan. Now you have more rain in the last decade compared to the 3 decades prior to that. So you have more heat, more hot days, more warm days, and more rain. But that more rain has become less rain in Uttarakhand, in Himachal, in UP, in Bihar, in Assam. So less rain and hotter in the northern plains and more rain and hotter in the western coast. Look at what it's doing to us. And OND is October, November, December. So in the retreating monsoon, you must be seeing a lot of imagery about floods in Andhra Pradesh and all these places. So all of that is happening in the retreating monsoon. Orissa, Andhra Pradesh are fairly badly impacted. So these are the 4 slides on heat and rain, just showing where we are heading in the next few years. Next, please. Now we look at Dharali, as RS sir had mentioned. If you see this little time-lapse video, this comes from open source imagery. This is what happened over there. So this is a glaciofluvial landslide, which is currently under major debate with all the scientists, one of whom is sitting here, young scientist, Gagandeep. So he went and I asked him to take a look at what happened here. So if you can play that video once more and then we can go back again. Just click that screen if it's possible. Yeah. So just see, this came down like this and just wiped out everything. So this area is called Fan. So this was an old landslide, which Dr. Bhandari will always correct me once I finish, I'm sure. But this Fan area is where possibly there was an old landslide, maybe 100 years, 200 years ago. And then people forget about old landslides and slowly it solidifies and it feels like strong ground and people start making whatever they wish to make. So if you see the previous photograph, most of the hutments and other hotels and all were on this side. So if there was land use zoning properly done at that level, but these are very small towns. So the importance of government and the enforcement of regulations is very low. So this is one of the biggest challenges on how do you reduce the vulnerability of these areas. Any more construction of hutments and other things in these areas, it creates an issue. Next, please. Now, this is the cause that Gagandeep went into. So this is the large violet area is the larger watershed reaching up to Dharali. Dharali is that red dot, the third dot from the left. That is Dharali. Now, this is a south to north thing, north to south. And the other thing that has just come up is a south to north thing, which is showing you those 2 little red dots on the top and the green one. So this is the Dharali catchment. At the bottom is Dharali. On top is the green area. That is a hanging glacier. So this hanging glacier is most likely what has collapsed, somewhat or a lot. And then these 2 little red circles are basically glacial lakes that Gagan and other scientists have identified. Now, these glaciers, this is the bigger part of those glacial lakes, this one and the next one. So this is what most likely happened, in which, just stop there. So this hanging glacier is one possible reason. The glacial lakes bursting is another possible reason, either 1 or 2. After that, hanging glacier fell and some landslip happened and the debris collected. A lot of rain continuously happening over a few days further moistened that and it reached critical mass. And then the whole thing is about 68 degrees. The gradient is about 68 degrees from there, 7,000 meters down to Dharali at 2,800 meters. So it came down really fast. That's why the speed was high and the cause is still not certain. Unless we get better imagery, we'll never know. But this is the basic story there, and this is what cascading disasters are. So there was rain, possibly because of heat, the hanging glacier melted, possibly the glacial lake moraine dam burst. So all these 3-4 came together and caused the cascading disaster. Now, if we go to the next slide, we are talking of coastal hazards. Now, this is a INQUAS is the agency which Mr. K.M. Singh had mentioned. When the tsunami came in 04, there was nothing. हम लोग कश्ती का इंतजार कर रहे थे. तो कश्ती के इंतजार में INQUAS एक organization बनाई गई. And that INQUAS organization has built an outstanding alert system where they monitor waves. Primary job is to monitor the ocean's currents, waves, and everything. And I was shocked to see, we called a coastal hazards conference last week, that there are so many Government of India's A-class scientific institutions working on seas, oceans, and currents, and tidal waves and everything, with an established cadre of scientists, each of them with very deep knowledge. It was amazing. We just reach out to them whenever we need anything. So this was an event that was happening on the 4th and 5th of May of last year, where a massive wave was moving from the southern Indian Ocean up towards Indian coasts. Now these and others are normally called freak waves. Freak waves because there is no tsunami, that there is no earthquake that has happened at the base which is causing this wave. There are several other scientific reasons for it, but these combined with high tide, combined with precipitation on the coast, if this three come together, that is a cascading disaster. It causes erosion. It erodes the coast. It takes away lives and livelihoods of the fishermen. The coast is not just a border, it is a means of livelihood for millions. So this kind of a thing, early warning, really helps. This is what INQUAS does. God forbid there's another tsunami, they will be telling us in time. Next, please. Now we look at landslides and glacial lakes. This is the Chorawari Lake, another cascading disaster, 2013. The hill on the left, it had a collapse and it was a huge landslip. Lot of rock came into this lake. This was a small glacial lake. The moraine dam, which is being shown on the right, was very weak. It collapsed and all the water came gushing out and it overtook Kedarnath. Now, what was the cascading part here? The fact that the landslip happened at the top, then the glacial lake burst, that's the second one, and then it was raining very heavily. Why? Because the southwest monsoon was very active and there was a western disturbance that came from the western side and both of them had collided at that time, 2013. And it continued to rain, it did not stop. That was again an additional disaster. So more landslides kept happening as this entire debris started moving downhill. So that is what caused the disaster. But unfortunately, glacial lakes did not gain that much attention, except in one case, where in Sikkim, glacial lake they tried to mitigate the effort. It was tried for 1 or 2 years, but it could not work properly. So somehow those efforts were given up. So we've taken up that entire book again, because with melting glaciers, this is one of our next biggest problems. Now, this is a very high resolution imagery. We keep hearing about, today in the papers, we saw a very nice article about Indian startups. They are launching satellites which will do hyperspectral imagery, which means from 37 to 100 spectral bands they will be looking at. So you will be getting images, whether it was because of melting or whether there was something else, there was heavy rain or not, because there are no meters to measure rain over there. A to B is 600 meters, which is 6 football fields long. And this whole lake is the length of Lodi Road. So you can imagine the expanse, 3.5 kilometers of road, and it's all filled with water, 100 million cubic meters. With that massive landslip happening, 1/3 of this lake emptied out, caused untold havoc of Sikkim and took down a lot of things. And it has corroded the river so much that up to the Chungthang area, it has corroded the river by several meters. The river is flowing much below its mark. But after the Chungthang Dam, it has raised its level and there is so much of silt deposited that many hutments on the side, including one stadium, has been totally buried in silt. So the amount of damage it causes is untold. And we only look at the infrastructure, human damage, And houses, we don't look at the biodiversity we lose, we do not look at the forest we lose, and we do not look at the damage that it will cause in the future. These are photographs of lakes that we have our automated systems we placed on these lakes. These are photographs of today. Not today was very cloudy, this is yesterday. So these are two ends of another lake called Shakocho. So this is 5,200 meters. And this lake, we get every day one picture, both sides, just to keep observation. And scientists like Kajal, who's sitting here, she handles our geospatial stuff. So she looks at from the sky, and the guy who watches the pictures, he watches the pictures to figure what's going on. This is how beautiful it actually looks in the winters. But this is a source of serious danger. I'll show you some charts. Now look at this chart. This is the heat chart of Shakocho Lake over 2 years. That's the 0-degree line. And this 0-degree line, if you look at the comparison between last winter and this winter, last winter the average heat was minus 10 degrees. The average temperature was minus 10 degrees, which is the 23-24 winter. 24-25 winter, it's minus 6. So whether we have 1.5 degrees rise in the ocean and on land, there you had a plus 4 degrees. Now, the importance of an automated weather monitoring station and the means of connecting via satellite to get this data, we get this data every 10th minute. So it serves as an early warning system for us also. So this 10th minute data, the ability to do this is all available in India. When I speak to at conferences, the startups are there, space startups. I tell them, look at this opportunity. I find it so difficult finding a startup which will take an AWS system and put it up on these lakes. There are none, because the orientation has always been different. So we are trying to change that orientation in the startup world. In the non-profit world, non-profits are very happy to do capacity building in Chennai, in Delhi, but we don't want to do that. Why don't you go work in the mountains? So we are trying to make that another objective of what we do. Now, if we go to what mitigation we are doing. So what we did was a management thing, that our main job is coordination. Now, what we found was that everybody was, as Sir had said, that if you don't have that manager, then you will not get anywhere. So we became the manager. And what we did was we told the states, the 6 states and union territories, that look, these 7,500 are your lakes. If they blow up, they're going to bother you. You are the one who's going to suffer. So you have to do something about it. So they said, okay, tell us what. So we started doing ad nauseum meetings, and then we sent their teams up on these lakes in last summer. And again, now this summer, they're right now climbing to the lakes. And we've created a list of 195 high-risk lakes through NRSC's imagery and various other means. So if you see the thing on the left, it looks like some very pretty chart, but it's called bathymetry. Bathymetry is measuring the depth of the lake. Why do you do it? To find out what is the volume, so that you know how much of water will come out if there's a problem. On the right is something called electroresistivity. Electroresistivity tomography. Now all these scientists were confusing me with what this meant, so I mugged up this. And ERT is something which we are actually doing there. So if you do it on top of a moraine dam is a loose silt dam, you will know iske niche ice hai ki rock hai. So it's very important to determine whether this is a category A risk lake or not a risky lake. If there is a rock, it's not much of a problem because the rock will stay. But if it is debris and it is loose, it can crash. Like the lakes, जिसकी pictures हमने दिखाई थी, उसका जो moraine dam है वो 100 meters की height का है, and there is no rock in it. And it has 66 million cubic meters of water. It is one of our highest risk lakes. So there are many such lakes. So we are trying our best, and I'll just show you what we are doing. So this on the previous one, this was bathymetry is done like this. You actually take a boat, and that boat goes and keeps marking spots and what the depth is of the lake, and then they do maths to eventually calculate it. Now we are designing a constellation of Earth observation satellites, which is being done parallelly by InSpace, where the private startups are doing it. And this side, the government's NRSC and ISRO is doing it. Just today, we sat down and finalized a joint working group report, which we had the honor to chair. And we were able to finalize an 8 to 10 satellite constellation where we'll be doing bathymetry from the sky. we'll be doing bathymetry through sensors on our satellites. So we are trying to computerize all this, and all this imagery will not come down. All the imagery will be done through edge computing on the satellites. So the downlinking will not be 100 quantities of data, but just one quantity, 1% of time and data you need to bring that data down. So that is the way we are trying to go into the sky. It will really help us. Then we come to this is a mitigation measure. Now everybody asks, what can you do to the lake? What can you do to it? So you can either take the water out, some of it, so that the level of danger on the weak moraine dam goes down, or you can strengthen the moraine dam. But the moraine dam is so flimsy that nobody wants to touch it. If you go do some drilling and all, there's permafrost there, you cannot drill in permafrost. So we are looking at other means of what you can do downstream, like building causeways, something called a new technique that we are trying to come up with. It's being looked at by the engineers right now. It's called flow-through retention structure. So we are looking at that. That's totally in the infancy stage. There's nothing much done. So this for Shakocho, pumping out through solar pumps into this river stream is one of the plans. Sikkim has planned it very well, and let's hope it succeeds. Then we'll use it elsewhere as well. Then this is a glacial lake outburst flood map that NDMA has created, where you can just go onto the map and all the high-risk lakes, the 195 that we have all the studies related to each lake on that, and a permission to the expeditions that go to upload any pictures or various things they want to do, so that we have a nice way by which we can keep control on what's going on in the science in those lakes. Then cyclones was very much mentioned earlier. This is an important little thing to see, that the black line is basically the black line is telling you what the line was the eye of the cyclone followed, and the red line is what was forecasted. So we keep fighting. This is the time where K.M. Singh mentioned in 1999 there was a devastating cyclone in Odisha where none of this existed. So when none of this existed, you had zero type of forecasting. Today we fight with IMD that आपका ये 97% accurate था कि 95% accurate था, and they feel very much on the back foot, and they try to do something to resolve this, and a lot of work is being done on that, very satisfactory work. But just last week the DG IMD told us that cyclones are now getting fatter, which means their core is becoming wider and they're getting slower. I mean, if you get fatter, you obviously get slower. So they're getting fatter and slower, so they're passing the coast instead of in 2 hours, in 4 hours. So that has enhanced the vulnerability of the coastal areas. All of these things which I'm telling you are basically making us calibrate all our maths, because everything is just changing in real time. The chart on the right shows you the cyclone Fani, which came in 2019. So what is being pointed out, that why it's going like this? So it danced like this in the Bay of Bengal for 11 days, the longest time from turning from a depression into a severe cyclone. It did this for 11 days. Normally cyclones just come and it could have taken that straight path and hit somewhere around Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh. But this fellow decided to go all the way left, right and all that. But IMD was tracking them. 9 times they changed their forecast. And for some reason they don't give us their tracking line. I guess they feel a bit embarrassed about being at 90% marks. But this is a very important track to show that where India has come from absolutely nowhere in 25 years with the help of that NCRMP program and INQUAS on cyclones. We give 7 days of warning. We do everything. You see a lot on the American websites and European websites that we've got this app, that app. At the end of the day, the IMD's app is doing a very good job and we are all very satisfied with it. Fani cyclone, the next job that we have, the Fani cyclone took down so much of power infrastructure, and this is measured by CDRI. They did a very good report on this. Just see how much of damage it caused, just one cyclone. So what we did not lose is lives, which we are very happy about. We came down from 5 figures to just 2 figures. We are now worried about what it does to our infrastructure. So the next battle that we are fighting is on resilient infrastructure. That is a battle. We have won it to quite an extent on heat, but we have to deal with it on several other areas. Now, urban flood. This was mentioned by Mr. K.M. Singh, and sir was actually giving us a test whether we are going to show these slides, and he had not revealed the questions to me in advance. I shall be requesting a drink in the afternoon or sometime for this, sir. You should have warned us that these are the questions you will ask, but luckily we had the slides, sir. So, urban flood mitigation. Now, there are 3 round circles that will come up. Now, the gray okay, it's not spelled correctly because we just wanted to show we don't use AI, it's all real stuff. We do it with our own hands. There's a human who didn't get the spelling right. So, I mean, you have to show it these days now because people send MOUs, 30 pages, all of them are AI. How do you catch it? Because AI, ChatGPT uses long dashes. So the long dash is the biggest giveaway of ChatGPT, and it's so well structured that you know this guy couldn't have written it. So what we are trying to do is that grey infrastructure, stormwater drainage and drains and sewerage and all that is all cement and structures and essentially industrial. So these things are very important. There is nothing wrong with that. However, there's a lot of blue, which is water related, and green, which is greenery related, that needs to be done. So we have made urban flood mitigation. We are currently designing the 3rd phase of our program, in which first phase was 2,500 crores, second phase is 2,200 crores. It's in the final phase of approval. And then we are going for a much larger program for 3 cities of Delhi, Mumbai and Ahmedabad, where we're doing a comprehensive urban flood mitigation. Where for green infrastructure, we will try and bring in all kinds of possible green things to do, as in rejuvenating water bodies, as in connecting the water bodies through their channels. They've got silted, lots of various things could have happened to them. There's a lot of excellent work that can be done, and blue infrastructure is to deal with water. One of the big things is like the Yamuna. So room for the river is a very nice concept, where at upper reaches also, if you enhance room for the river, widen it at places where you can, so there'll be more room for the same volume of water. Hence, it will not overflow its banks. So these kind of A-class concepts which are doable, we are currently working with Ministry of Urban Development, with some international partners. CDRI is leading our thing in this. So this place, urban flood, sir, I'm sure when sir comes as Bhishma Pitama, then we'll be able to tell him that apart. No, sir. Then we'll tell him that there was a pre-K.M. Singh era, then there was a post-K.M. Singh era, then there is a post-Rajendra Singh era. So sir has been around for 5 years, so he has led all these things, and he knows how to bat. He's basically a Fauji on the sea, and he has fought many battles in various ministries on this matter. So now these are 3 screenshots of Mumbai, what they are designing. This is not finalized yet. These are 3 screenshots of what can be done and what we are trying to do. So one on the left is a holding pond. So if you go to Tokyo or just Google Tokyo's holding pond, you will find an underground reservoir, very nicely made, and lots of nice photos of it. We've already got one in Mumbai, and there are 2 more we are making. These holding ponds are of great use in urban flood management, especially in places which are like Mumbai, which gets 3,000 mm of rain every monsoon. And the second one is basically pumping stations, a very obvious thing. And then the third one is a very, very blue method of the Meethi River, which flows through Mumbai. Meethi River was originally an 8-kilometer river. Now it is 16 kilometers. How did it become so long? Because this last 8 kilometers that we are showing on the screen is actually all reclaimed land. Mumbai had started reclaiming its land as early as 1720. For 300 years it's been reclaiming. There were 7 islands, and these 7 islands have now basically, essentially, that sea has become a poor river. So we are trying to green out this Meethi River, and this is the last stretch. The first stretch has been done. So that is one example of what we are trying to do on urban flood mitigation. Next, please. Then earthquake has been mentioned. 75% earthquakes are we have only 15-20% risk. This is the Gondwana land thing, in which on the rightmost side you see the Indian plate moving into the Eurasian plate at 5 centimeters a year. And 5 centimeters a year sounds a lot, but there is 9 centimeters a year when that Kamchatka Peninsula earthquake happened recently. That plate is moving into the northern plate at 9 centimeters a year. So that's one of the faster moving ones. Next. These are the big earthquakes that have happened in our region in the last 130 years. Last 2 slides, sir. And the first 5, 6 are great earthquakes. Then there are slightly smaller ones, but as devastating. But as you come down, the devastation is more because of increase in vulnerability, more construction. This is the map of 2,600 years of earthquakes. And do not miss Delhi. Just see the reds on Delhi in the map on the right. The amount of red that is showing on Delhi, that means earthquakes have been very frequent in this region, and Delhi is sitting on zone 4 as seen on the left one, which is the green side. That's why that little jutting out part in the green one is the zone 4, which encompasses Delhi. Next, please. Knowledge Center, my best new friends, the NIDM guys. Next click, please. So there are 8 things we are doing to become a knowledge center for all the work that is being done in NDMA and all other disaster management organizations. These are the 8 pillars on which we are regenerating NIDM and putting it together, ready to speed up to in the next 10-20 years. Some very good looking faculty at point number 3. 3 of whom are here. They are better looking if you see them actually. Then the last one, CDRI and MEA, we work with them. We train some foreign participants. CODER is what RS sir mentioned, Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction. A lot of A-class stuff is being done there. And last slides, we are just showing you, please keep clicking. This is our CODER. This is all the workshops we do to become a knowledge center and to share knowledge and to learn. And these are the organizations in ministries. That is Ministry of Home Affairs. This is Ministry of Mines. This is Ministry of Earth Sciences. Next. Next. This is the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Department of Atomic Energy, Survey of India, forest institutions, and educational institutions. This is all the organizations we have to coordinate with. It's a very, very big job. The task is immense, but we are trying our best. Thank you. Sorry for taking so much time. I have to learn from my boss.
Thank you, Safi. Brilliant presentation and a lot of new things. But at the moment, I would not like to talk much because we are already quite behind schedule, and I will reserve whatever I have to say for the concluding remark. But I would like to say only one thing, that Rajendra Singh and Safi Rizvi, they have played a complementary role in the sense that Mr. Rajendra Singh told us what all initiatives have been taken by NDMA, and as I mentioned, it gave a very rosy picture, and I mentioned that at this rate, even much before 2047, India will be a totally disaster resilient country. But on the contrary, Safi Rizvi gave a very frightening picture. But it's good. Well, Safi Rizvi played the devil's advocate, and he mentioned about certain things which are really very frightening, whether it is a forest fire, glacier lake overflow, or global warming. All these look quite frightening. Of course, he also mentioned that in terms of urban flooding, I was not aware. A lot of things are being done. But we'll discuss all that toward the end. But at the moment, since we are running behind the schedule, and we'll already quite behind schedule, so for the next, say, maximum half an hour, I leave the floor open to all the participants. And I would like to repeat what I said in the beginning. This is not a workshop, this is not a seminar. This is a dialogue. All of you are professional in the field of disaster management, and what we have to, the suggestion that we would like to get is, what should be the India's DRR strategy for the years to come in the gaps that we have. I mentioned some of them: earthquake, urban flooding, and landslide. But also what he has added is forest fire, global warming and all. So we would like to have as many suggestions as possible for the DRR strategy, so that we can prepare a good paper outlining India DRR strategy. So for the next about half an hour, floor is open to everyone, and for your suggestions, valued suggestions. Thank you very much. Vishnu Pidamas will start.
सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपने मुझे आदेश दिया है तो बस 2-3 पॉइंट, बिकॉज समय की कंस्ट्रेंट है सर। पहली तो चीज़ कि राजेंद्र सिंह जी ने और रिजवी जी ने RR, इट वंडरफुल, आई हैव नॉट सीन सच ब्रिलियंट प्रेजेंटेशन, शेर व शायरी के साथ, और ये बिल्कुल आकाश स्पेस से लेकर के ज़मीन पे क्या हो रहा है। एंड सर हार्दिक धन्यवाद आपको सर, हल्दर साहब को, भटनागर साहब को। ये तो अनिल ही हैं सर, अभी इन्होंने बताया कि ये भी अनिल हैं, तो 2 अनिल जब मिल जाते हैं तो सर काफ़ी तहलका हो सकता है, लेकिन अभी हम लोग वो नहीं करेंगे। तो बहुत बढ़िया सर, थैंक यू फॉर इनवाइटिंग। मेरे से 3 पॉइंट है। बहुत ही कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्रेजेंटेशन राजेंद्र सिंह जी ने किया, तो उसमें फिर रिपीटिशन का कोई स्कोप नहीं है, आई थिंक वो टाइम का वेस्टेज होगा। एक तो चीज़ सर, मुझे कॉरपोरेट सेक्टर और प्राइवेट सेक्टर का मेंशन, एक्सेप्टिंग जो सफ़ी ने अभी बात किया स्टार्टअप्स का, बट अदरवाइज उसका कोई विशेष मेंशन या वो पिक्चर में नहीं दिखे, और वो चीज़ हम समझते हैं कि सब बहुत ज़रूरी है। वो प्राइम मिनिस्टर का 10 पॉइंट एजेंडा में भी है, वहाँ पे बहुत पोटेंशियल है। हम लोग सब जानते हैं कि उसको अभी टैप नहीं किया गया है, एंड दे प्ले वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल। अगर मैं इंसिडेंट्स या इवेंट्स को पिकअप करूं, जो 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 ये भुज अर्थक्वेक हुआ, उसमें जो इंडस्ट्रीज़ का, या सुपर साइक्लोन, पावर लाइंस कैसे गए, वो सब मैं सर डिटेल में नहीं जाना चाहता, क्योंकि तो बहुत ही एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप है, दे ऑल अंडरस्टैंड। एंड CDRI के आने का एक बहुत बड़ा कारण ये था, और ये बहुत ही प्रसन्नता की बात है कि साहब CDRI जो है वो एक इनिशिएटिव भारत ने लिया। दशकों के बाद, आफ्टर डेकेड्स वी सॉ, डेकेड्स तक से हम लोग ग्लोबल इनिशिएटिव्स में वी यूज्ड टू फॉलो दैट, यू सी, बट डेकेड्स बाद इट इज़, व्हेनेवर आई रिफ्लेक्ट ऑन दैट, आई फील सो हैप्पी एंड सो प्राउड कि भाई नाउ वी हैव इनिशिएटिव्स, and one after the other, CDRI, International Solar Alliance, and then other initiatives, etc., which are global, and where the best of the topmost of countries, most powerful countries, they are willing to, they are literally queuing up to join that, you see. तो कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर एंड प्राइवेट सेक्टर को लाना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और ये चीज़ शफी ने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से उसको सामने रखा। ये सब आजकल के जो यंगस्टर्स हैं, उनको हम कैसे उनका रुझान जो है इस तरफ लाएं, है कि नहीं सर? आई होप सर, मैं हिंदी में थोड़ा बोल रहा हूँ तो इसमें आपके डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी पॉलिसी पर्सपेक्टिव में। मैंने सोचा कि थोड़ी हिंदी में भी बात कर लिया सर, मैंने अनुमति नहीं लिया, लेकिन तो एक तो ये है सर। दूसरा है, अभी जब बात हो रही थी, इन्होंने फैकल्टी वगैरह को दिखाया NIDM को, तो मुझे याद आ गया, क्योंकि सर थोड़ी क्रेडिट मुझे भी है, जब हाई पावर्ड कमेटी बनी थी तो उस समय NIDM तो होता नहीं था, NCDM था, 1 कमरा 1.5 कमरे से वो चलता था। लेकिन सर स्वर्गीय पंत साहब, GC पंत साहब, जो यूपी के और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में एग्रीकल्चर सेक्रेटरी भी रहे, उनका विजन था सर। मैंने तो उनके पीछे लग करके काम किया और पूरे मन से और ईमानदारी से काम किया, इसमें कोई शक नहीं। सर जो श्रेय है सर वो उनका है, उन्होंने पूरे इंडिया को कैसे इसमें इन्वॉल्व किया, कितने चीफ सेक्रेटरीज को इन्वॉल्व किया, डजन्स ऑफ मेयर्स को इन्वॉल्व किया, वो सर अलग स्टोरी है। हम लोग सर इंडिया के 4 भाग में जाकर के 600 से ज़्यादा NGOs को इन्वॉल्व किया सर। और वासुदेव नाम की एक NGO नेटवर्क का कॉन्सेप्ट उस समय उभरा, अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो आगे नहीं बढ़ा, दैट इज़ अ डिफरेंट थिंग। तो सर मुझे याद है NIDM का, क्योंकि उनके साथ डिस्कशन के बाद और मेरे मन में था कि नहीं, NCDM एक सेंटर बन के IIPM में नहीं रह सकता, ये इसका भविष्य नहीं है। क्योंकि 8 और सेंटर थे जो कि कॉफ़ी पीने की जगह थी, एक NCDM था जिसमें से बहुत काम हो रहा था। तो सर वहाँ पे ये ड्रीम आए कि NIDM होना चाहिए, लेकिन NIDM का पिक्चर तो नहीं रखा। बट मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाहूँगा कि आप तो बेस्ट हैं, आपका पाउंड, आप तो दोनों जगह हैं, NDMA में भी हैं जो कि उसके सुपरवाइजर, NIDM में भी हैं। NIDM का जो कॉन्सेप्ट और ड्रीम था वो था कि साहब इंडिया में वो एक सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस, नॉलेज, दिस एंड दैट, आप जो कहिए, and I'm not getting into details of that. I'm sure you will get the point. I don't think NIDM never got that freedom, that autonomy, that kind of just finance, etc., etc. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. तो एक तो ये 2 चीज़। तीसरा पॉइंट जो मैं कहना चाहूँगा वो शायद कैप्चर करे कुछ और पॉइंट्स को। जो स्लोगन हम लोग बिहार में सर उसको बड़े मन से हम लोगों ने किया, क्योंकि स्लोगन बड़े पावरफुल होते हैं। आपदा नहीं हो भारी यदि पूरी हो तैयारी। बहुत सी तैयारियों के बारे में, इनिशिएटिव्स के बारे में आपने बताया। आपदा होती रहेगी, हो रही है, लेकिन भारी नहीं पड़ेगी अगर तैयारी पूरी होगी। इसके पीछे बहुत कहानी है, तो छोटा सा स्लोगन है सर, लेकिन मन को छू जाता है सर। दूसरा है लॉन्ग टर्म डेवलपमेंट के लिए, डेवलपमेंट की बात हुई, रिस्क इन्फॉर्म डेवलपमेंट की बात की सब उन्होंने, कि विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत से बचाए। हम लोग विकास की बात कर रहे हैं पहाड़ों में, वो बात अपने में ठीक है, लेकिन वो विकास ऐसा ना हो जो आफत बन जाए। जहाँ पे वो आफत बन जा रहा है, वो हमारे जियोलॉजिस्ट फ्रेंड को, अभी 74 बैच का हूँ, तो हम लोग का एक रीजन हुआ था मसूरी में, तो जियोलॉजिस्ट फ्रेंड पे बिकॉज सारे सर्विसेज थे, तो उनसे इस पर बहुत डिस्कशन हुआ। उनको दुख ये है कि भाई कितना जियोलॉजिस्ट का शायद इन्वॉल्वमेंट नहीं है ये सब जो डेवलपमेंट के प्रोजेक्ट हो रहे हैं इन सब जगहों में। मैंने कहा ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन दैट इज़ व्हाट ही फेल्ट। तो सर विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत से बचाए, और विकास ऐसा हो जो आफत न बन जाए। भुज में सर स्कूल एक विकास का द्योतक माइलस्टोन है, हॉस्पिटल विकास का माइलस्टोन है सर, लेकिन वो बन गए किलर्स, वो बन गए डिजास्टर्स, बच्चों के, पेशेंट्स के, डॉक्टर्स के और अदर्स लोगों के। तो सर थैंक यू, एक बार से धन्यवाद। बहुत अच्छा लगा सर, इस डायलॉग को जारी रखिए, और जब भी मेरे से कोई छोटी सेवा हो सके सर मुझे बताइए। नमस्कार सर।
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
We have to be a little brief because we are already short of time.
How much time? I mean, from 1 minute to 1 hour, whatever.
Every word will be valuable.
No, you stop me whenever you feel there's.
I dare not.
No, I won't mention about these things that I wanted to, about insightful presentations that we heard, the 3 of you. All I would say is that many things can be said. India has really done commendable work. And my biggest challenge that I see is that how do we take advantage of enormous investments and work that has been done in the past? Is there any mechanism? Because quickly I will go through, you rightly mentioned about the tsunami warning or cyclone warning and all that. World class thing. We were there yesterday, day before yesterday, when Sasakawa Award has come to India on this. So there's no question about it. And this has been done a long time back and progressing. So I would say that after Disaster Management Act, NDRF was created. 2009, the national policy on disaster management come. 2011, Disaster Management in India, Ministry of Home Affairs released a very comprehensive booklet. 2016 and 2019 National Disaster Management Plan came, and I was personally participant to most of these in 12th Foundation Day of 12th and 13th Foundation Day of NDMA. Then came the 2016 Prime Minister's 10-point agenda, which has been mentioned. Again, CDRI 2016, 2022, Mitigation and Management of Disasters. There is a book that was prepared by Mrs. R.S. Sibbal. She was the additional secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs, looking after disasters. Then in 2021, a special issue of disaster management came by the Journal of Governance. It has fantastic articles and a huge amount of information there. Then in 2022, INA study has come, a huge publication there also. I'm not mentioning some of my publications and all that and that, but 2023, again, disaster planning and governance, Cambridge scholars, Sunita Reddy and Sinha Sab, they've edited that book. And your paper is also there, sir. My paper and all others are there. In 2023, Rupa published a book on Resilient India, how Modi transformed India's disaster management paradigm. And many of the things which are not normally known appears in that book. And that was Bluecraft Digital Foundation had done that. 2024, Sendai midterm review was there. So when I put all these together, and I've gone through personally many of these, enormous amount of information is there. Now, how do we take advantage of this if we want to shape our disaster DRR policy or strategy and all that? It's very important there. Now, next, national expectations are used. I would again not go into the earlier plan that I had to tell you that the national vision, which has been I'll straight go to the recommendations, I think, and if the time permits, I'll do other things. In the policy document that was prepared in 2019 and 9, it's about 16 years now down the line. Now, it's our obligation to provide policymakers.
We as publications, we are all aware. What we expect from you is, you are the landslide expert. And what DRR measures, briefly, you feel
Sir,
is lacking to fill that gap.
Sir, I would not be able to do justice if I go to landslides without giving you, because all of these documents impact on this. You see, I am again coming to one very fine point. We are talking about earthquake, landslides, floods, cyclones, and all that. At the same time, we talk about multi-hazard risk resilience. Now, if we are talking about projection of risk scenarios, worst case scenarios in any situation, then this becomes academic exercise, because earthquake can lead to landslide, which in turn can lead to floods by blocking the rivers and things like that. Again, landslides might come. So any situation you take, wherever the major problems are there, whether this problem or any other problem, it's a multitude of causative factors and interplay of these on a geological time scale. But what we do for our convenience is cloud burst. What happened in last 10 days or 15 days? As he mentioned very rightly, that old landslides will get reactivated. And so we have the history of landslide, and hydrogeology plays a part. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not, I can speak on landslides for any amount of time, but my humble submission is that when the new disaster risk reduction policy comes, our first focus should be that it's multi-hazard risk resilience. If we are actually going to look at the ultimate safety, because otherwise I don't have any hope, because you bring me any case and we can discuss in detail. That the devil will be in the details. We will be focusing on something. If my specialty is landslide, I'll focus on that. Somebody will focus on this. So that is one point that I would like to mention. Second is that knowledge is power. And we had a commitment made 25 years ago that we will have a disaster knowledge network in the country. And I brought here, sir, the documents that were prepared by high-powered committee. I prepared this document, Anil Kumar SINHA is a witness. And then we had extensive discussion on this. This was approved, became a part of the HPC report, which was published in October 2001. Thereafter, it became so intensively of interest to the country that many organizations, including Dr. Kakodkar was in INAE, and then Dr. Mashelkar even established some centers for this. This was then picked up by Commonwealth Science Council.
No, we are fully aware. आपने तो इतना author किया है.
नहीं तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ आपको मैं इसलिए no, the focus is that we should, where is that knowledge network? This is my question. If you want me to be blunt, because lot of things have done. I can also say that I can produce reports, papers, discussions. I've been party to it, and I am equally to blame for it.
So at NIDM, sir, this question came up, all the young professors raised it. So we created a repository, which is like a knowledge network, a repository of all the important publications on each hazard, and it is currently being structured in a proper database. Our library, which was a physical library, is becoming
Sir,
an
it's not the question
now.
library, sir.
So,
excuse me, because
sir,
time is short.
One second,
Yeah.
sir. Time is short, so I'm just completing, sir. So one is the documents that are available, the knowledge that is available, then all the symposiums and the coder workshops that we do, the exchange of that knowledge. So we are really doing a lot of work on that, and I'd like to see.
No, I am fully aware of what NIDM has done, much more than what you are saying. I'm aware of it, sir. But my humble submission here is that this is not a library, this is not collection of information and things like that. This is networking of institutions and making available the information to the last mile. Now, I should be able, if I want to get some information, it's not going to be easy unless some 10, 15 people interact and all that individually. If I want to get the information, it's not easy on every aspect of justice. So my recommendation here is...
You may conclude now because others also...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If that is there, then I say thank you, and it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we can take 2-3 suggestions. As you will mention it once again, no question answer. We in this dialogue expect some concrete suggestions regarding India's strategy in some of the gaps. The gaps may be in the implementation of Prime Minister 10-point program, or some of the disasters well known which are causing a lot of damage to the country. A few, I think, good suggestions we'll welcome. Balaji ji.
Thank you very much for firstly inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And after listening to, I think, Bhishma Pitama's, Abhimanyu's and Arjun's, there's a very little gap, and I try my best to find that. My first suggestion, in addition to one is so much well said, so extensively said, the first thing is somewhere, we are becoming a very highly data-centric world and data-based decision making. We have data, but somewhere as a part of the future disaster management strategy, can we have a kind of standardized system in terms of how to store data, how to retrieve that data, and how to use it for decision making? So if we can formulate a plan for data management system, starting from the lowest level to highest level, categorize, store, and retrievable, so that everybody can retrieve and use it for decision making. I think that will be a very good addition to the future disaster management strategy. And my second, I'm a response person, so I'll be a little response centric. We have a lot of planned events, religious, lot of times, which tend to get a lot of national and international optics. Anything small going on,
anything big going on. So somewhere I think the planned event management, especially the religious events, and I had participated, I supported Nashik in Kumbh Mela in 2015 from those lessons. If we can somewhere categorize in terms of the number of people who come, diversity, 1 lakh people event, 2 lakh people event, multi-million event, and kind of have protocols in terms of how to manage them, standardize it. I think that will go a long way in terms of creating a very positive impression and also manage these planned events in a very successful manner. And the suggestion which is flowing out of that is, again, response centric, is that, we have in the past few years started a lot of work on emergency operation centers, incident response system and all that. And also deepening search and rescue. How do we do that? Standardized EOCs in this country so that all the district EOCs look the same, state EOCs look similar at least, so that interoperability can be strengthened. Somewhere that whole piece of EOC's incident response system need little deeper attention to that. I think that's one. And one more suggestion I have is, connected to the 15th Finance Commission. I had traveled in some states and all that where the funding was given, funding was being utilized by the states for, a lot of work. Procurement of managerial services and products is becoming a huge challenge. So somewhere again, as far as disaster management is concerned, some kind of guidelines, standard operate in terms of how do you procure a management service at a state level or a district level. I think guidelines on that as a part of the future strategy will ensure the money which is being allocated is spent, properly in a right manner. I completely agree with the, including the corporate sector in the disaster management. A lot of years back, I had written a paper and I had submitted in terms of identifying the corporates based on their functional speciality. Somebody are communication people, somebody are logistics, FMCG companies are typically, and then trying to bring them around in that particular functional specialization, giving them some responsibility will be a very good, future strategy. And we also need to somewhere look at our supply chain management. So, a lot of times we have seen in big disasters, either, for Sikkim, I know that the tunneling machine was stuck. NDRF team which was going was stuck in Bhatnagar airport. Both in terms of the relief goods as well as the services which are needed, can we have a good supply chain management system and have some guidelines and all that so that, we can reach the products and services at the right time. A study around that, looking at the most difficult locations in India, how do you reach those places in the event of a large disaster? I think that will be some good additions to the future strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Balaji. Thank you. Any other?
Yeah. Actually,
please.
many things have already been said, only 2 points. One is somewhere we are missing the lessons learned from various events, which need to be percolated and documentation part. So we have to strengthen that part. And out of that, the lessons learned from, say, one example, Dharali. Why that old village has not been disturbed so much? We are talking about the fan which was created earlier and another fan has been created, which will be developed again, say after 20, 30, 40, 50 years, another 100 years. So this is the process which we are following. So use of traditional knowledge which the ancestors have developed. Why Dharali village, original village was not developed? And this is not the first example. There are a large number of examples which have strengthened this point that traditional knowledge has to be applied somewhere, including the developmental projects. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A few points from the implementation perspective. As we work on the ground zero, where the communities that we work with, including the panchayats, are not much aware about these plans. And there's a huge gap between policy and then practice. I think that's where we, as a actors of the development has to come together. As Rajendra sir rightly said, it has to start from the community who are first respondents. So when you talk about DRR strategy, sir, I would humbly submit that this policy gap has to be addressed through different mechanisms. That's point number one, sir. And point number two, the 10 agenda points what Honorable Prime Minister said, first one is itself, seeing development plans in the lens of disaster management. We are now to talk about resilient. How do we see the resilient? In order to bring in district development plans, if these development plans can be seen in the climate change lens, then there is a close coordination between climate change and disasters. So that's where we can able to strategize our plans. The third one, sir, and the last one is that we see the multi-hazard approach is taking up. I would submit that all PRIs in the country, the members of representatives, they can be trained on these approaches. It will be much strengthened at the community level, and they can be able to great support and encourage to the community that are suffering in these disasters. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Very useful session and lot of good points. I will not like to take long time because we are already behind schedule in my concluding remark. One or 2 points I want to mention that the issue regarding NIDM, and very rightly Anil Sinha mentioned about NIDM's role and charter, because being the first ED of the NIDM. Well, I don't know whether people from NIDM will agree or not, but an impression goes around that NIDM has not been able to deliver as much was expected from them. But let me tell you, because NIDM has a governing council, first meeting of the governing council was held way back in 2007, and after that no meeting was held. But today we have very dynamic NIDM in Safi Qureshi, and after 18 years, 2 days ago, we had the second meeting of the NIDM Governing Council, where the Home Secretary chair and about 20 ministry secretaries were there. I was also present in that meeting, and I saw the entire presentation, brilliant presentation by him, and such a vision has been given of NIDM that I think now with this vision, NIDM, I don't want to go in detail, but we'll have a breakthrough, and it will, what you mentioned, I think this vision that he gave on that day, brilliant presentation, in the years to come, NIDM capacity building program, training program and all will, at the ground level, because all the ministries were involved, and it's a role of all the ministries. For the first time I found that in the capacity building program, training program, in a structured manner, all the ministry secretary or their representative were called. So that I must say, I must compliment Safi for that. Next.
Sir, एक चीज हम NIDM के बारे में कहेंगे that before I joined NIDM, which was about 4 months ago, I had also heard कि NIDM is a wasteful organization, it is useless, वहाँ कुछ नहीं होता है, वहाँ कोई कुछ नहीं करता है, और I also went very skeptical when I reached there. And then I started interacting with all the professors, and not just the professors, but the academics who are contractual employees, but they are also established academics. There is a group of about at least 20 of them. So those 20 people, sir, over the last few weeks, in the first 2 weeks I figured, I started saying this on the 15th day onwards to Rajendra Singh sir and Vatsa sir, that this is absolutely incorrect impression. What was missing was the image management. And what was missing is that there was nobody to speak out for them and for all the successes they had. Each of the older faculty, sir, has a serious amount of expertise and specialization. Like Professor Surya Prakash is a very established landslide expert of his time. And all the ones who retired, they were all experts in their own line. So they were institutions in themselves. It is just that they were never highlighted properly towards in the corridors of government. So I have done nothing great except rejigging a few small things here and there, and I know how to kind of put it on a good presentation. And tie वाई लगा के अच्छी जाते हैं सर, रंगीन वाली, तो उसका असर थोड़ा सा हमको ज़्यादा श्रेय न दीजिए सर, सब ये लोग ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं.
Being modest. Anyway.
की बात नहीं थी. आई थिंक वो इम्प्रेशन नहीं जाना चाहिए कि मुझे लगा है कि NIDM को स्ट्रक्चरली, फाइनेंशियली, ऑपरेशनली जो ऑटोनॉमी होनी चाहिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ रिक्रूटमेंट, इन टर्म्स ऑफ ऑल अदर थिंग्स, वो है कि नहीं. मुझे आई एप्रीहेंड कि शायद वो अब तक नहीं मिली है. एंड
चीजें खाने में भी छोड़ दीजिए सर.
सिन्हा साहब,
मुझे बतानी है.
सिन्हा साहब,
मैं तो आपको बताऊंगा. तो
आपने ऑटोनॉमी वाली बड़ी अच्छी बात कही. लेट मी टेल यू, इन दैट मीटिंग Safi did raise the point of autonomy for NIDM. He was overruled. NDMA has not got an autonomy so far. NDMA, NIDM, there was no support for him, but I entirely agree with it. If this institution like IIPA is has autonomy, why shouldn't NIDM? But that was, so it's a sad plight, but anyway, that apart. Now, some of the good points mentioned was that developmental plan should be seen from DM's lens, because Dr. Bhandari will agree with me. It is his subject that in developmental work should not be at the cost of degradation to the environment, and that has been the sad plight in the hilly region, despite Supreme Court orders and so many other decisions. That environmental degradation is continuing and creating havoc in the hilly region, and that is one area which is a major concern. Anyway, very good point was made about involvement of panchayat. Actually, in the disaster management, right from top bottom to bottom up approach should also be there. I would briefly like to mention one point, that recently Disaster Management Act has undergone a revision. Amendment has been done, and Rajendra Singh talked about what good work NDRF is doing. But the problem was that in this country, unless there is a mandate, nothing moves. Private initiative doesn't move. And DM Act 2005 had mandate only for NDRF. There was no reference for SDRF, State Disaster Response Force, for which I had been fighting. But since there was no provision in the Act, the response from the states were very lukewarm. But I'm very happy that the new Amendment Act has a provision, Section 44A, of states being asked to raise SDRF also. So now that there is a mandate for that, I think the SDRF will come into being in a much more structured manner. And my vision has been, like, if we are talking of DRR initiatives, like the DM Act has three-tier vision of NDMA, SDMA and DDMA. In the disaster response also we should have three-tier vision. NDRF at the national level, SDRF at the state level, and at the district level, civil defense, fire services, home guards, Apada Mitra and all. And if all these three level institutional mechanism is there in the response, I think we'll be much better prepared for the response. So with this, of course, there are many other points to mention, but since we are already quite late, I won't like to take much time. I must thank you, all of you, for very useful this session that we had, and we look forward to a few more in the days and years to come. Thank you.
If, with your permission, let me complete the formality of offering a vote of thanks.
Yeah, that's
All the very distinguished persons who have gathered today, it is my pleasant duty to thank you all. I must acknowledge to begin with the presence of the following whom I recognize. There may be some whom I don't recognize and therefore their names may not be included in my list. PC Haldar, our President of the PPF, Shri K.M. Singh, who moderated today's discussions and presentations, Shri Rajendra Singh, Member and Head of Department of National Disaster Management Authority, Shri A.P. Rizvi, Advisor NDMA, Shri P.K. Malhotra, former Secretary Law, Government of India, Shri Anil Sinha from Bihar, a very distinguished authority on disaster management, Shri R.K. Bhandari, also a winner of Subhash Chandra Puraskar and a distinguished person in the area of disaster management, representatives from the UNDP and some other organizations present here, Shri K.M. Singh, whom I already mentioned. He set the tone of the discussions with his introductory remarks, which were very, very perceptive. I thank you all for your very intelligent and absorbing comments. I will mention a few others which I may leave out is mainly due to lack of time. Shri Rajendra Singh made 2-3 very important points. He flagged the issue of the importance of such dialogues should be a recurring experience for all of us. Then he gave some historical perspective in which he mentioned about the dimensions of problems arising from disasters and its management. Natural occurrences, nuclear reactors, earthquakes, tsunamis, cloudbursts, etc. were some of the things which he mentioned. He also made a reference to some of the achievements which have come to the lap of the NDMA. And their list is growing and they are very, very impressive. I have been following it because my colleague Mr. K.M. Singh, we were together in service. He parted ways after retirement. And what wonderful work he has been doing is now recognized by all of us who are present here. So there are many achievements and many are coming our way, which is a very satisfactory experience to have. Then Mr. Rajendra Singh also mentioned about highlights of the strategy which should be followed, which included that the risk management should be based on information in risk mapping, early warning system, build up of a disaster resilient infrastructure, community awareness, Abda Mitra schemes introduced, youngsters trained as volunteers to use them, have an overview of all these measures with technology in our system, how we make these plans. This should be a matter of great importance and study, and financial resilience, without which nothing can be done. And in this connection, he meant that the last finance commission had allocated 2,28,000 crores for disaster management, which was unthinkable a few years back. So congratulations to you, sir, for this excellent achievement. Our approach should be people-centric, a team effort, and community-centric. This was another highlight which Mr. Rajendra Singh mentioned. I won't go into the details because time is very short. But I must mention something about Mr. Rizvi's perspective in passing. It was an excellent representation. And while he was mentioning, I was able to understand what he was saying. But honestly, I have forgotten much of it now. So I will have to go again through whatever he has said because I cannot, leave it at that. It was worth knowing and worth remembering. And he has, I find, something in his smartphone which will be of help to me, and I know him well. So I think he will part with it for people who are really interested in these things. But very briefly, he mentioned about elements like heat, rain, and how, their variation, quick variation, timely, over-to-year changes have affected and created problems for all of us, and which have been, dealt with partially And now with better knowledge about these phenomena, perhaps our capacity to deal with these has also improved. He mentioned how heat, rains cause problems, about forecasting coastal hazards, studies about landslide, floods, how the mitigating measures can be formulated by their studies which have been made so far, how infrastructure like important infrastructure like power lines can be guarded against these calamities, and programs are being formulated based on these studies. Concepts which are doable are being explored. Knowledge centers have been created in NIDM, which will further consolidate the gains made so far. Our other participants, including Shri Anil Sinha, Dr. R.K. Bhandari, Shri Rajendra Singh, and I forgot the names of some others who made some valuable suggestions, included public and private sector inclusion for joining in the effort of disaster management, which is a very true thing, because it's not only disaster management. I'm seeing that many other areas like defense and other things, ISRO and our very sophisticated areas of work, they are all drawing on the experience and knowledge and backup support from the private sector. Why leave out disaster management and these kind of essential things? Then there was also this very valuable suggestion that very enormous work has been done, but after having completed that work, the record is lost somewhere, and it is not being made use of. There is enormous material available. There should be a knowledge network created so that these things can be retrieved and should be easily available and should be referable immediately. And this data should be retrievable. This point was raised by some others also. Use of traditional knowledge should not be overlooked. This is very important, because we find that the first responses are often, these traditional methods, because by the time the help reaches people who are suffering directly, they depend only on that kind of thing, and that is very valuable. It is coming, to us through ages. And I think I will conclude by saying that one very important suggestion came regarding image management. NIDM is sure going to find wings with this addition, very important addition to their capabilities. Now, thank you very much to everybody once again, and please join us for dinner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.